This is 1 hour. It looks small. It looks cheap. You would waste this on a scroll without thinking twice. And this is your entire life, 700,000 hours, the global average. It looks like a fortune, but the universe doesn't owe you the average. This is a car crash at 24. This is a diagnosis at 32. Your life is a bank account, but the balance is hidden. You cannot check it, you can only spend it. And you might have 50 years left, or you could go bankrupt tomorrow morning. So, for the sake of this simulation, let's assume you get lucky and get the full 80 years. Now, let's see where they actually go. First, we have to remove the operating cost. You're running on a biological machine, and it requires a recharge every 16 hours. The average human spends 26 years asleep. This isn't a choice. This is a factory setting. If you don't pay this, the system crashes. So that's 220,000 hours gone. Then maintenance. The hygiene, the bathroom, eating, cleaning the machine. Another 7 years. Now look at this. This represents 5 years. You technically live this time, but you don't see it. This is blinking. You blink every 4 seconds. Your eyes are closed for 10% of your waking life. That means for 5 full years, you're walking around in total darkness. Now, look at the table. We haven't gone to work yet. We haven't looked at your screen. You haven't made a single choice. And 40% of your life is already gone. So what is left on the table? We have paid the biological tax. We have removed the sleep, the hygiene, the waiting, the feeding. We have stripped away the machinery of being an animal. Now, we are left with the human part, the waking hours, the part you think belongs to you. Let's look at this pile. This is where you think you made your choices. This is where you think you decided who you are. But I am going to show you that almost every single grain of this pile was spent by someone else. You were just the vessel for it. Let's start with the first chunk. Roughly 35,000 hours, the first 18 years. You look back on this time with nostalgia. You think of it as the time you were becoming yourself. But how much of yourself did you actually choose? Think about the earliest memories. Think about the cereal you begged for. Did you naturally crave sugar pellets in a red box? No. That desire was planted by a billion-dollar marketing campaign that used a cartoon tiger to bypass your parents' logic and hijack your dopamine receptors. Think about your heroes. You wanted to be a Spider-Man. You wanted to be an astronaut. You wanted to be princess. Why? Because the media you consumed wasn't just entertainment. It was a catalog. They weren't just selling you stories. They were building brand loyalty before you could read. By the time you were 10, your imagination had already been colonized. You didn't just want to play. You wanted that specific toy you saw in the commercial. You didn't just wanted to go somewhere. You wanted the specific destination you saw in the movie. The seeds of every purchase you make today, the car, the clothes, the vacation, were planted in the soil of your childhood. And we were the lucky ones. We just had TV commercials and billboards. The screen stayed in the living room. Look at the children growing up today. The iPad generation isn't just seeing ads for toys. They're growing up inside the algorithm. It starts with the brain rot. Walk into any restaurant. Look at the child at the next table. They aren't looking at their parents. They aren't looking at their food. They're logged into a screen, scrolling. They aren't watching stories. They're consuming sensory sludge. You have seen it. A split screen. On the top, a clip of Family Guy. On the bottom, a video of slime being cut or Subway Surfer gameplay. We have raised a generation that has lost the ability to be bored. And if you cannot be bored, you cannot create. You can only consume. Then comes the insecurity. We didn't have to worry about status until high school. Now, you have Sephora kids. You have 10 years old storming beauty stores to buy retinol and anti-aging cream. Think about the horror of that. A child who hasn't even hit puberty is already terrified of aging. The algorithm is selling them body dysmorphia before they even know how to do long division. And who is raising them? It's not just parents anymore. It's the streamers. Kids today aren't looking up to astronauts or firefighters. They are looking up to YouTubers. They form parasocial relationships. They think the guy streaming at the camera in their bedroom is their best friend. They feel closer to chat than they do to their own classmates. They are learning social skills from a comment section. If it is this hard for a grown adult with a fully developed frontal lobe to resist the attention economy, imagine how impossible it is for a child. So look at this pile of rice. The first 35,000 hours weren't just school, they were the installation phase. The sister spent 18 years teaching you that happiness is something you buy, attention is something you crave, and silence is something to fear. Now we move to the third biggest pile of our life, the work. Conservatively 100,000 hours, the prime of your life. For most of you, this is a transaction. You sell your time to buy your life. And let's be clear, there is nothing wrong with that. Work is how we build, how we provide, and how we function. But look at the math of your life honestly. Are you working that overtime shift because you need food? Or because the standard of survival has shifted? We used to work for safety. Now we work for comfort. And the price of comfort is infinite. Why does a missed promotion feel like a death sentence? Not because you will starve, but because you're terrified of falling behind in the simulation. Because the attention economy has hacked your definition of enough. It operates on a loop. You open your phone. You see an influencer in a loft apartment. You see a friend's promotion on LinkedIn. You see an ad for the car that promises freedom. Your brain, your primitive monkey brain, registers this as a threat. It says, I am falling behind, I am not safe, I am not enough. So you go back to work. You trade more rice, you sell more hours, not to feed your stomach, but to feed your status anxiety. It is a perfect trap. You aren't a prisoner of your boss. Your boss is just the middleman. You are a prisoner of your own mimetic desire. You don't actually want the luxury car. You want it because you saw someone else enjoying it. You are copying a hunger that wasn't yours to begin with. You don't want the object. You want the status the object gives you. But here's the twist. Not everyone plays the game this way. Not everyone sells their rice linearly. There are other players in this simulation. Some of you look at this pile and say, I'm not going to sell this. I'm going to bet it. You start a business. You burn 16 hours a day. You risk your entire 20s. You are pouring rice into fire, hoping that smoke turns into gold. You compress 40 years of earnings into 4 years of work. But often, you just build a more stressful cage. You don't own the business owns your rice. And then there are the masters. These are the people who cracked the code. They realized you cannot get rich selling your own rice. You can only get rich by buying others people's rice for the discount and selling the value they create for a premium. That is what a business owner actually is, a harvester of other people's time. And then there are the ones who seems to have won the game before it started. The heirs, the lottery winners. They spawn into the simulation with enough gold that they never need to sell a single grain of rice. They have total freedom. But watch what they actually do with it. Do they become philosophers? Do they explore the stars? No, they usually spend their rice trying to become famous. Because even with infinite money, they are slaves of the attention economy. They still need the likes to feel alive. Do you see the pattern? Whether you are the employee grinding for the weekend, the entrepreneur grinding for the exit, or the heir grinding for the clout, you are all chasing the same ghost. Who told you what you want? You want to start a unicorn startup. Why? Because you love product? Or because the algorithm fed you the clips of the social network until you associated suffering with masculinity? You want to be a digital nomad. Why? Because you love travel? Or because Instagram convinced you that a laptop on a beach is the only valid form of happiness? The attention economy doesn't just sell you the toothpaste, it sells you your ambition. It tells the worker to want safety. It tells the entrepreneur to want status. It tells the artist to want fame. So look at your work. Look at your dream job. Are you chasing it because it sets your soul on fire? Or are you chasing it because the simulation told you that this is what successful humans look like? But let's get granular. Because you might be thinking, okay, school and work are systems, but I have free will in small things. I choose my toothpaste, I choose my entertainment, I choose my shoes. Do you? Let's audit the microgreens. Take your morning routine. You wake up, you brush your teeth. Why do you use mint toothpaste? Is mint naturally cleaner? No, it was a marketing campaign from the early 1900s that associated that tingle with cleanliness. And then you turn on the screen. You think you choose what to watch? You think you have a taste? You don't. You have a recommended tab. You didn't choose to watch the latest MrBeast video. He spent thousands of dollars testing the brightness of the font and the wideness of his eyes on the thumbnail. He A/B tested 50 variations until he found the exact combination of pixels that bypasses your frontal lobe and hijacks your monkey brain. You didn't make a choice, you reacted to a stimulus. Be honest, look at this video. You think you chose to be here? You think you found me? No. I engineered the title to trigger your existential dread. I designed the packaging to make your curiosity itch. The algorithm put me on your feed because it calculated a higher probability that you would click this rather than the video below it. You aren't the driver, you are the passenger. And shorts, reels? That is the bottom of the barrel. You don't even get to click there. The feed just bombs its content at you. It extends to your physical world too. You plan a vacation, you go to Bali or Santorini. You think, I want to see the world. Do you? Or do you want to stand in the exact same spot at the exact same sunset to take the exact same photo that you saw on your explore page? We are a species of mimics. The attention economy knows this. They don't sell you the products anymore. They sell you identity. They show you a picture of a happy person and say, if you want to be this, you must buy this, eat this, wear this, and go there. And now, the monster. Second biggest pile after your sleep, the screen. But we have to be precise here. You work on a screen. You build businesses on a screen. You are watching this right now on a screen. In those moments, the device is a tool. Steve Jobs called it a bicycle for the mind.
So for me, a computer has always been a bicycle of the mind, something that takes us far beyond our inherent abilities. And I think we're just at the early stages of this tool.
When you're writing a document or editing a video or looking up a tutorial, the software is passive. It waits for you. It serves your intention. But even after we subtract your job and your productivity, the data is terrifying. The average human is now spending 3 to 5 hours a day on a passive consumption. That is roughly 15 years of your waking life. You aren't using TikTok or Instagram. You are being harvested by them. Every second you stare at that feed, a supercomputer is A/B testing your psychology against billions of other users. It knows when you are sad, lonely, or horny, and it uses that data to feed you the next spoon of slop. And let's talk about the slop. The short form loop, drama, outrage, pranks, softcore porn, content designed to be consumed in 7 seconds or less. This isn't just wasting time, it is rewiring your biology. Real life is slow. Real conversations have pauses. Real sunsets takes time to happen. But the screen is fast. It is bright. It is constant. It floods your neural pathways with so much cheap dopamine that real life starts to feel boring. This is why when you try to read a book, your brain itches. This is why you can't take a shit without scrolling through reels. You have lost the ability to be alone with your own thoughts. It is estimated that humanity spends 1 billion hours per day on YouTube alone, 2% of the entire cumulative time of the human species. Think about the scale for a second. The pyramids were built with less labor than humanity spends watching shorts in a single day. We are pouring our collective consciousness into a digital void and getting nothing back but anxiety and anger. And then the twilight years, roughly 60,000 hours. The last 7 years of our timeline. This is the time you bet everything on. For 40 years, you told yourself, I'll travel then, I'll write a book then, I will enjoy my life then. You treated this time as a reward. But the reality is not a reward. It is a biological decline. We have confused lifespan with health span. Modern medicine might be incredible at keeping you alive, but it is not very good at keeping you mobile. Statistically, you might live to 80. But your health span, the years where you are pain-free and independent, ends much earlier. So this pile of rice? It isn't hiking in the Alps. It is managing symptoms. It is navigating mobility issues. Your calendar doesn't fill up with adventures. It fills up with doctor appointments. And then there is isolation. In Japan, they have a specific word for this, kodokushi. It basically translates to lonely death. It refers to the phenomenon of people dying in their apartment and remaining undiscovered for weeks or even months. It happens because the world simply moves on with you. Your children are busy fighting the career phase you just left. Your friends are dealing with their own health decline. And eventually, the social structure that held you up during your career tends to evaporate. And the hardest part isn't even the loneliness, it is the lack of friction. When you retire, you lose the friction that made you feel necessary. You wake up on a Tuesday with nowhere to be. No one needs you to solve a problem. No one is waiting for your email. You finally have the time, but you no longer have the hunger. This isn't a failure. It is the reality of the biological clock. If you wait until this pile to start living, you will find that you have the currency, but you no longer have the energy to spend it. So, what is actually left? If we take away the school, the work, the toilet years, the chores, the algorithmic addiction, what remains? Look at the table. This small pile here, this is the remainder. Now, before you panic, I want to make a crucial distinction. I'm not saying you need to be a productivity robot. I'm not saying every single second of your life needs to be optimized. You need to rest, you need to play, you need to watch a movie that makes you cry, or laugh with your friends until your ribs hurt. That is the whole point of being alive, to enjoy the harvest. But there is a difference between rest and rot. Rest is intentional. You choose to watch that film. You choose to sit by the river, it recharges you. Rot is unintentional. It is the 3 hours of scrolling you didn't plan on doing. It is the binge watching you do just to turn your brain off. This file here, this is the only time you possess true autonomy. This is the time where you are not a worker, not a patient, not a user. You are a sovereign. But look at the quantity. It is scarce. You are 30 years old. You think you have 50 years left. No, once you pay the tax to your biology, your boss, and the inevitable decline of old age, you don't have 50 years of autonomy. You have maybe 5 years. The rest is already spoken for. This tiny pile is all you have to build a legacy, to fall in love, to raise your children, and to find out who you actually are. You are running out of currency, and you are spending it like you are immortal. So what is the solution? I'm not going to sit here and tell you to optimize every second. I'm not going to tell you to become a monk or a CEO. Life is messy. It rarely plays out exactly like a simulation on a table. This video wasn't designed to make you panic. It was designed to hand you the map, to show you the difference between the time you think you have and the time you actually possess. And don't beat yourself up for being influenced. We are social animals. We evolved to look at our tribe and copy them. That is how we survived for 200,000 years. The attention economy didn't invent your desire to fit in. It just capitalized on it. This game of status and attention has been around since the first king put a crown on his head to make the peasants look up. But that's a topic for another video. The point of this pile isn't to hoard it like a dragon egg. The point is to make sure that when you spend it, you are the one holding the wallet. So go hike on the Alps, go build a business, go sit in a park and do absolutely nothing for 3 hours. If that is what your soul needs, just make sure it is a choice and not a default setting. You gave me 15 minutes of your grain today. I hope I made it worth the trade. If I did, and you just want to understand more about the system that runs our world, consider subscribing. Karan, signing off.